I know there are many Turrican fans out there, and while the original game released over 30 years ago, I wouldn't have considered myself a fan until recently. It was just one of those series I kind of knew about but never gave a chance up until the past few years. I believe the first chance I gave one of the games was on the analog Super NT with the pack-in Super Turrican games, and I loved them. So just recently from Inin and Madlittlepixel Games comes the Turrican Anthologies I and II, released as digital versions instead of just physical carts through strictly limited games, which allows more people to have access to these collections. And we got a lot to talk about today, but we're going to do it in a compact form. So these are two separate collections with 5 games each from several different retro consoles like the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and Amiga. Now, this may all seem confusing to a degree. I mean, they released these physical some time ago. There was also the Turrican Flashback Collection that released, but now these are available on the eShop. So I want to quickly go over what's included here in case you're a big Turrican fan, or if these are games you never heard of, maybe they'll be of interest to you. I think these games are all pretty awesome. The way they play, they're pretty smooth. The music and graphics are pretty awesome, but the asking price, it's kind of a bit much in my opinion. But maybe you love this stuff and have some money to toss around, so let's get into it. Now, the first anthology contains Turrican 1 and 2 for the Amiga, then Super Turrican and Super Turrican Director's Cut for the Super Nintendo, and for the 5th game, Mega Turrican Score Attack. Okay, interesting. And for the second anthology, you get Turrican 3 for the Amiga, Mega Turrican and Mega Turrican Director's Cut for the Genesis, and Super Turrican and Super Turrican Score Attack for the Super Nintendo. Kind of weird how the Score Attack versions of the games are moved around instead of on the actual anthology with the game they are based on. Like I said, these are two separate releases here. Probably some kind of marketing strategy, I guess. Maybe to sell more copies or something. I don't know. But okay, the features of these games, they're fairly extensive in my opinion. And that's where Madlittlepixel and Inin releases, really shine. You have your basic stuff like save and load states and rewind. Then also you could choose between standard and challenge modes, where challenge will disable the use of cheats and those extra features. So kind of challenging you, right? Playing it the way they were meant to be played. But beyond this, you have some fairly crazy display options with shaders, always a bunch of shader options with these releases, and aspect ratio options as well. Some of the best I've ever seen on any of these releases, but nowadays it's pretty standard from these guys, but I like seeing it, so it's cool. You also have cheats for some games listed in the menus, access to a jukebox for each game. These games do really have some awesome music. I personally think the Amiga and Genesis versions really kind of stand apart and sound awesome. Super Nintendo ones are all right, but for some reason, man, that Amiga and Genesis versions really kind of bang there, man. They sound great. Now, you can also take a look at scans of the original manuals for each game and have the added feature of scanning the entire map or turning different layers on or off for the map in-game, so that's kind of cool. There's also a gallery and bonus jukebox you can unlock to get more music and never-before-seen concept art. All very cool additions. But the one criticism I have here, as I've already kind of mentioned, and it may be subjective to some, perceived value may be different between each of us, but at the end of the day, splitting up this compilation between 2 releases and charging $35 for each release seems a bit ridiculous to me. $70 for 10 games. And some of these games are just variants of each other, right? Now, I find this a hard pill to swallow when we have things like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection getting ready to release with 13 games plus regional variants for the Japanese versions, and tons of features including online play for the price of $40. Here, if you want 10 Turrican games with some just being variants of another game on the collection, you're in it for $70. Maybe I'm crazy, but when it comes down to it, I like these games but just couldn't see dropping that kind of money. Maybe the $35 for all 10 games would be alright, but it just seems like splitting it up in this way is a bit greedy. It's a little much. These guys, they have released other individual games in the past where it was just one release, one title, and it was between $5 to $7. And I didn't really have too much, harsh things to say with that pricing for a single game. And the math does seem to be the same here. $7 per game, around the same, right? But I just feel when given the chance, a single retro game with decent added features may be worth it to more people than having to pay for 5 or 10 games at once. Typically, compilations, I mean, they're pretty cool. Compilations are awesome, but they're typically sold at a lower price where you get more bang for your buck. But here, it is what it is, I guess. I mean, they are really awesome collections, just with some odd choices on how they were released. Interesting, but there's my opinion. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Bye.